Right, time to do another game retrospective. So, yes, it's now that time where we're going to talk about another game, but this time I thought we'd go back to how it all started by talking about the next Oddworld game. So we're going to talk about Oddworld Munch's Oddysee. So, for those of you who don't know, Oddworld Munch's Oddysee is the third game developed by Oddworld Inhabitants and is technically the second installment of the Oddworld pentology. While originally intended to be a title for the PlayStation 2, it eventually became a launch title for the Microsoft's Xbox system. A port for the Game Boy Advance was also developed by Artco Limited, which featured top-down gameplay, very much like the original GTA titles. Munch's Oddysee is the Oddworld Inhabitants' first full 3D game and features several new characters, locations, and was released on November 15th, 2001, with subsequent releases on PC, iOS, and Android 10 plus years later. So we've got the development history of Oddworld Munch's Oddysee. Oddworld Inhabitants' Lorne Lanning's original vision was to create a series of 5 video games in the Oddworld quintology, with each game introducing a new hero that would join the existing band of revolutionaries on their journey to put an end to the exploitation of cultures, people, and the natural world by profiting capitalists. Oddworld Munch's Oddysee was the next in the quintology, with Abe's Exodus being seen as more of a side game than anything else in the series. Munch's Oddysee started out to be the most ambitious project for Oddworld Inhabitants, planning it to make it the first full 3D game for the upcoming PlayStation 2 as well for PC. However, with budget issues from GT Interactive, which was undergoing its transition to Infra Games, and the struggle of developing a new engine with unfamiliar hardware, meant that progress was very slow. Microsoft, on the other hand, was looking for exclusive titles for its upcoming console, the Microsoft Xbox, and secured the rights to Munch's Oddysee, sending in technicians to help transition the Alive 2 engine to the Xbox's main hardware. The game was then considered a commercial disappointment due to Microsoft's failure to market the game in Europe, which is where the Oddworld series had actually been the most successful. So we got patches. On April 18th, 2011, Microsoft released a patch on the Xbox 360, which repairs the backwards compatibility issues with Munch's Oddysee. The patch fixes the game's prominent audio issues encountered while playing the video game on Xbox 360. Downloading the patch is still currently available to all users with access to Xbox Live upon activation of the game, and it also works on the Xbox One as well. And I don't know about the Xbox Series X/S, considering the fact I don't really own one ever since I migrated onto PC. And we also got a remaster as well. In 2011, in the Game City Night event from Episode 2, Season 4 of a podcast in Nottingham, it was confirmed that Just Add Water Limited and Oddworld Inhabitants that they were working on a HD remaster of Munch's Oddysee, alongside with other Oddworld announcements. The remaster was said to include a remastered dialogue and improvement of character textures. It was scheduled to release sometime in October 2011, but then was pushed back to October 2012. This remaster included upgrades to the environment and entity models, and improved sound design and controls that were more closely that resembled the PS1 game's controls. In November 2015, Munch's Oddysee was released on iOS and Android mobile platforms. The port was developed by Square One Games, which also made the mobile port for Stranger's Wrath. The mobile versions of the game features highly configurable controls, support for hardware controllers and graphics settings and achievements. Then we got the PC port. The original ported version of Munch's Oddysee for PC was met with harsh criticisms due to its buggy state, problems with the OpenGL graphics drivers, legacy code and old assets caused by the game to be on Steam in a near unplayable state, ever since the Oddbox's release. On February 17th, 2016, Oddworld Inhabitants announced that a new port of Munch's Oddysee that has been completely redone from the ground up as a fresh port, while also the new port was not in the actual HD update that was previously rolled out on the PlayStation. It does, however, contain a number of assets from the HD version, primarily environment models and textures, as well as a higher polygon models for Abe and Munch, and the Slicks. This port still uses the original's controls, bringing Munch's Oddysee HD to PC. It is still an option Oddworld Inhabitants are keeping open for the future, claiming that the new port will replace the version currently on Steam and is not in lieu of anything else. The new port was then eventually released on July 25th, 2016 on Steam, alongside with a new set of trading cards, emoticons and profile backgrounds. On the 30th of April 2020, Oddworld Inhabitants' YouTube channel released a new reveal trailer for a limited Switch port of Munch's Oddysee. This port was based on the PC version that shares the Xbox version's controls and was released alongside with the new trailer on May 14th, 2020 as well. So that's all the development stuff out of the way for Munch's Oddysee, so let's go straight into the story and setting. So we're going to start off with the main setting. So Munch's Oddysee, just like all the games in the Oddworld series, is set on the planet of Oddworld and the continent of Mudos. Industrial growth by the God Cartel has consumed much of the continent's natural resources, and the industrialists are always finding more ways to fill their wallets. And now we're going to dive into the main story, so there will be major spoilers ahead of the game, so if you haven't played Oddworld Munch's Oddysee, please go right ahead and feel free to get it on Steam, emulate it if you have to, buy the Switch version or whatnot. But yeah, I would recommend you guys play the game before watching the rest of this video. So, the game's story begins with a Gabbit named Munch narrating the recent events, and he explained how there used to be many Gabbits very much like himself, but the use of the webs has led to the Gabbit population plummeting one night. One night Munch calls out in a search of other Gabbits and is surprised to hear a reply. However, when Munch leaves the ocean to investigate, he falls for the trap. The Gabbit sounds were actually coming from a booby trap that immediately begins emanating a sonar beacon once Munch is caught in it. The sonar beacon then alerts a small Viker ship to Munch's presence. As the airship prepares to abduct Munch, the native creatures such as rats, paramites and scrabs flee the area. Munch then lets out a massive cry, the screen then fades to white. This is revealed to be an event that the almighty Raisin is explaining to Abe and his fellow Mudokons. The Raisin explains that Munch was taken to a giant floating airship that is now known as Viker's Labs, and that Abe must rescue him to save his enslaved quote-unquote brothers. When Abe asks how to find the airship, the Raisin tells him to find the big well, but then falls asleep before explaining further. Abe then proceeds to collect Spoos from the Raisin's cave, and in doing so meets the Shaman, a Mudokon with the power to teleport, who will advise Abe and Munch on their quest. Abe then leaves the cave by opening a spruce lock and then enters the spruce shrub forest. This is where Abe encounters a fellow native Mudokons who aid him through all the forests, either by chanting or attacking enemy sligs and slogs. Abe then encounters security forces who have occupied the land around the well in order to obtain the rich mineral deposits. With the use of the vendors, Abe bypasses the security. The story then focuses on Munch, who then is brought to a research development room and by a pair of interns in Viker's Labs. He is then strapped to a chair, surrounded by medical equipment and operated on by one of the leading Viker scientists, Humphrey. Humphrey's colleague, Erwin, arrives and demands to know why he's implanting a sonar beacon to Munch's head. Humphrey explains that he will use Munch to retrieve trapped critters, while using the sonar to allow more free time for the Vikers to conduct their research. When the pair leave, Munch uses his sonar device to free a group of fuzzles from their cages. In return, the fuzzles bite Munch's restraints and free him. Munch then proceeds to go through the fuzzle testing, hydrophonic vats, fluoride tanks and snoozy lab before arriving at the poop chute. Abe then arrives at the big well and reluctantly jumps in and launches him up into the air, where he slams against a metal pole projecting out of the Viker's Labs. At the same time, Munch falls out of the poop chute and hits Abe, and while the duo plummets to the ground, they miraculously survive, but they are abandoned by Abe's friends amongst some of the Mudokon pens. The duo then works together to kill the patrolling sligs, as well as they release the captured natives and rescue the trapped fuzzles before making their way to Slog Hut 1027. It's here that they encounter scrubs, Mudokons without feathers, who have been forced into labor as slaves, as well as armoured sligs. When they have progress through the Slog Hut, they then reach the Mudokon fortress. Abe then helps to repair the door to the fortress and reclaims territory of the surrounding sligs, as well as using the enchantment machine to restore the water supply. While Munch continues to rescue more of his Fuzzle allies, the high water allows Munch to eliminate further slig forces via the crane, and so that they can enter the Slog Hut 2813. They repeat this process from the first Slog Hut, but with the aid of a snoozy bot this time, and finally they both make their way hastily to the herd of paramites before returning to the Raisin's cave. The Raisin then tells Munch that he must return to Viker's Labs with Abe in order to obtain Gabiar, the last can of 150 Gabbit eggs, as well as help with Abe to save his his unborn Murdocan brothers with the labor eggs. However, the Almighty Raisin explains that the duo will need assistance of a Gluckon named Lulu if they want to infiltrate Viker's labs. They must make Lulu rich by possessing other Gluckons and forcing them to donate all their wealth to the Lulu Fund, then possess Lulu and make him buy the last can of Gabiar at an auction. With this new goal in mind, the duo then set out their first victim, a Gluckon who plans to convert a Murdocan village into a Rupture Farms meat branch. They then gain the support by the locals by herding the meeps into a pen before progressing through a slug-occupied tunnel to reach the Gluckon attempting to convert a windmill into a micro-version of a Soulstorm brewery, who's convinced the natives to become slaves by promising them the brew. To further complicate the situation, this mill is also surrounded by a pack of scrabs. After escaping the scrabs, saving the slaves and restoring power to the mill, and disposing of the security, Aben gets the Gluckon to donate 115,000 moolah to the Lulu Fund. After dealing with these two amateurs, Abe and Munch prepared to take on a large organisation, the Magog Cartel. Well, not Magog Cartel, the Magog Motors. They defeat the armoured sligs and fuel fields, while on the fuel fields surrounding the areas, and then enter the building where they soon come face to face with Big Bro Sligs. Once the manager is taken care of, they progress through the Dead River and an area drained the water by the toothpick manufacturing company Splinters, who plans to clear out the whole place. Like the Murdocan fortress, Abe restores water supply and Munch opens access to the No Muds land. No one then comes closer to the Splinters. The shaman informs the pair that due to their presence, the Splinters' security has increased dramatically. But despite of the overwhelming odds, they managed to infiltrate the factory. When they enter the Splinters' boiler room, the shaman explains that the indoor security didn't expect them to even make it inside. As a result, most of them have fallen asleep, making it incredibly easy to rescue the employees and rack up another 100 million moolah for the fund. Rather than escape Splinters, Abe and Munch make their way to the Splinters manufacturing to take down the CEO, finally sending the company into bankruptcy. With the Lulu Fund gaining substantial wealth and the Gabiar auction nearing, the duo then set their sights on a final target, flood fuels. The surrounding reservoir and the Abe possesses six junior executives of flood fuels, and each of them donates 250,000 moolah and releases the reservoir water before entering the flood fuel scrub pens. They save both scrubs and fuzzles alike before flooding the certain rooms and entering the Flubco, and takes a colossal 1 million moolah, well not 1 million, 1 billion moolah out of the retirement fund. Now that Lulu has acquired an amazing 3 billion moolah, Lulu himself is invited to the Viker's labs. Abe and Munch sneak aboard Lulu's ship and infiltrate the labs. When Abe rescues the Murdocan scrubs, they prepare to load Murdocan egg crates onto Lulu's ship, and then when Abe throws them onto the loading chutes, the Vikers then begin stockpiling these unborn labor eggs, plan to sell them for the highest bidder. Luckily, Abe and his fellow Muds have successfully loaded them onto Lulu's ship, in which they have planned to escape. Munch then battles the armoured Vikers and frees the remaining Fuzzles and floods the areas of the labs before the two of them move on to the labor egg storage and repeat the process. After this, Abe and Munch separate for the first time since they met at the Big Well. Abe then infiltrates the Viker suites, and while while Munch goes on a mission of his own, the shaman helps Abe by transforming the scrubs into marachas, which enables him to defeat a group of Vikers who are cutting up elms. Abe then loads at the last one of the labor eggs and meets Munch. So this is now where we're going to go talking into the bits where what the Oddworld games are more known for, which is the endings. And obviously, just like all other Oddworld games, there's always multiple endings. But instead of having a good ending and a bad ending, Munch's Oddysee decides to go a bit further, and it gives us 4 endings instead. So we got the good ending. Abe and Munch continue their plan and get the last can of Gabiar. They possess Lulu and make him attend the Gabiar auction. When he makes a winning bid of 3 million moolah, his entire fortune, against a glutton named Tex. Abe and Munch steal the can soon after on the ship where Abe and remarks, "When I leave places like that, it usually blows up," pointing at Vickers Labs onto the ship. To which Munch explains that the Fuzzles have their own plan. The scene then cuts to Irwin and Humphrey walking onto the airship, admonishing Lulu for being such an idiot, only to find out the Fuzzles have planted explosives there, and much to their horror, the game ends with Abe and Munch witnessing the explosion of Vickers Labs, revealing a moon with a crater that resembles Munch's foot on its face. When the cutscene ends, the shaman then tells you that you left many Mudokons behind, giving you the option to start over from the beginning. Then we got the bad ending. At the end of level 23, the bad ending starts with the mutilated Fuzzles condemn Abe and Munch for not rescuing them, stating that the Vickers did terrible things to them. Abe and Munch plead with them, but the Fuzzles proceed to sound the alarm and attack them. Abe is captured and killed with his head mounted on a plaque emblazoned with the word loser. Meanwhile, the Vickers call lady Margaret, the Vickers call Lady Margaret, letting her know that her new set of lungs is ready and that the transplant can be performed as soon as she's available. The scene then cuts to Munch fully awake and horrified at the news as the Vickers approach him with surgical tools. Munch is then heard moaning amid the whirring of off-screen, and the monitor flatlines, indicating that the Vickers have killed Munch. The screen then ripples back to black, and the ending closes with the sound of Irwin's evil laughter being heard from the distance. The player is then given an opportunity to start over from level 3, puzzle testing, to view the credits. Then we got the angelic ending. To unlock the angelic ending, the player must maintain an angelic coma throughout the game by rescuing nearly all the scrubs and Fuzzles and retrieving the labor eggs. In addition to the same cutscene as shown in the neutral ending, a bonus daily deception newspaper is shown before the credits. This edition states that due to the massive breakout of scrubs and missing Fuzzles, and by extension the loss of Vickers Labs, the Gluckon Queen, Lady Margaret, has been placed on life support, and Lulu is held to blame for the Vickers Labs disaster. Abe and Munch get along with all the Mudokons and Fuzzles you rescued, are branded as fugitives, and are reportedly at large. The game then ends by showing a final epilogue congratulating the player of their heroic deeds. Then you got the black ending. To unlock the black ending, the player must maintain black warmer throughout the entire game by killing all the scrubs and Fuzzles and destroying all the labor eggs. Once the bad ending is shown, a boneless daily deception newspaper is shown. To contrast with the angelic ending, the paper then refers to the player as an evil bastard while breaking the fourth wall, and states that further that with all the renegade fugitives captured, industrial society is safeguarded, and Lady Margaret also successfully receives a lung transplant. And then the last, the Gahana Gabiar, is revealed to be eaten by the winner of the auction, effectively rendering the Gabbet species extinct. Finally, a new Mudokon labour force is shown and is to be in infancy after hatching from a new batch of labour eggs. So yeah, the ending to the Oddworld games obviously do get quite dark very easily. So we got the overall reception that Oddworld Munch's Oddysee gained. Oddworld Munch's Oddysee received fair to positive reviews from critics upon its release in 2001. For the more critical of the title, GameSpot gave the game a 7.9 out of 10, stating that Oddworld Munch's Oddysee is a very smart game with great puzzles and yet not enough variety in those puzzles to keep it completely entertaining throughout. IGN gave a 7.4, saying that the final product comes off as anything but polished and suffers from a lack of variety and overabundance of repetition. That keeps the game from being truly shining like I wish it would. As much as I would like the characters and designs of the new Munch game, I'm still hoping for the true spiritual sequel for my good Abe. But let's be honest, it's very hard to believe anything that IGN says, even to this day. And then you got Next Generation reviewed the Xbox of the game, version of the game, rating it 4 stars out of 5, and stated that Munch isn't a typical platformer, but is still completely entertaining and unique, highly recommended. The Academy Interactive Arts and Sciences Award awarded Munch's Oddysee for Outstanding Achievement in Animation during the 5th Annual Interactive Achievement Awards. It was also nominated for Innovation Game Console Gaming and Outstanding Achievement in Art Direction, but these went to Pikmin and Eco respectively. So my overall final verdict of Oddworld Munch's Oddysee. Overall, I do think that Munch's Oddysee is a fantastic game on its own, and it was a super ambitious project for Oddworld inhabitants. For that alone, trying to be an iconic world, while bringing its iconic 2D platforming world roots. I can't even fucking speak today. For that alone, to bring the iconic world from its 2D platforming roots to a full-fledged 3D environment, the best thing is Oddworld did. I think that the game goes down as a hidden gem for your typical 3D platformers. As well, if you get the chance to play it, definitely do give it a chance, especially if you have played the previous PS1 titles of Oddworld. So, that has been my overall look into Oddworld Munch's Oddysee. What do you think of the game? If you want me to cover the other Oddworld games, considering the fact I've only got like another, 3 more Oddworld games to look at in the series now, going all the way over to Stranger's Wrath and New and Tasty and Soulstorm. But I also am going to be planning on talking about other games in future. If there's any games that you want me to do a retrospective on, feel free to hit me up in the comments below or DM me on any of my socials, and I'll see what I can do on there. So, I've been Bloody Jack. Please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notifications bell so you guys will be up to date on all my uploads. Also, don't forget to go in the description down below. You guys can find me on my socials. You can find me on my Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. You can also find me live streaming on Twitch every now and then. If you miss the live streams, do not worry, because I also upload the streams right onto YouTube the next day. So, I hope to see you lovely lads and ladies in the next video.